There are some things that a narcissist will absolutely never get over. And these perceived slights become grudges that a narcissist preserves for a lifetime, kind of like exhibits in some twisted grudge museum. So today we're looking at 6 of those things that a narcissist will never ever get over, because understanding these lifelong vendettas can really help you find closure. So the first gallery in the Narcissist Museum of Grudges is dedicated to paranoia. And this is the belief that someone is out to undermine or hurt them. You see, once a narcissist thinks you have it out for them, you'll never be able to prove that you don't. And you may notice this if you have a narcissist who's smearing your name, or if you're in a relationship with a narcissist now, you might notice that they tend to harbor grudges against people for reasons that you just don't understand. You might think something like, there's got to be more to this story that I'm not hearing, but there usually isn't, because it's a story that the narcissist has built up in their heads about how this person is jealous and wants to take them down. But that story may not be fully rooted in truth. Still, once the narcissist believes that someone is out to get them, they believe everything this person does is motivated by the desire to hurt the narcissist, or to make them jealous, or to make them look bad. They're always on high alert, trying to anticipate when and how this person will stab them in the back. And here's some advice from the comment section on how to spot a grudge-holding narcissist. Watch out how they talk about their friends, or even past friends or family members. Everyone did them wrong, and they were just minding their own business, and boom, huge problems, and these people hate him or her for life. All right, let's be real. Narcissists do burn bridges and definitely will have people who hate them for life. But the truth is, most people who aren't narcissists don't put that much weight on grudges or revenge. But there may be a lesson in this for all of us. So let's allow this to be a cautionary tale. When you can realistically let things go and get on with your life, let them go. Especially if the narcissist in your life can't truly hurt you anymore, don't let their delusions infect your thinking. As I always say, protect your peace. My name is Christina, and I want to welcome you to the Common Ego community. This is a very supportive community, and a lot of what we talk about here is narcissism. So if that's something that touched your life, consider subscribing, because there's going to be a whole lot more information here for you. And now let's move this little tour along to the next wing in the Narcissist Grudge Museum, where we explore exposure. Specifically, when someone exposes a narcissist for their lies, manipulation, and deception. This exposure forces the narcissist to feel something they've been desperately trying to avoid. And that is shame. But instead of staying in a place of shame or dealing with it in a healthy way, that shame quickly turns to rage, and often a vendetta against whoever exposed them. This extreme reaction stems from what's called a narcissistic injury, basically a wound to their grandiose false self. Being exposed completely contradicts their self-image of perfection, brilliance, and invincibility. And it becomes a shocking betrayal that their manipulations did not go undetected. This and other reasons is why I don't recommend intentionally exposing a narcissist unless you have to. Everyone will have to weigh the pros and cons of their own situation for themselves. But if the only reason is for revenge, it's definitely not worth it. The best revenge is walking away. And here's some really great insight from the comment section. Here is something to remember. Once you have exposed the narcissist, they are no longer in control. And when they are no longer in control, that means they themselves are out of control. Be on guard. Narcissists are vindictive control freaks. And that pretty well sums it up. So let's get back to our tour, where we're just coming up on the Hall of Fading Beauty and Prowess. A narcissist may dish out jabs about how you've gotten old, gained weight, or simply can't do the same things as well as you used to. But when you point out the same, in the same good-natured fun, you'll notice it hits the narcissist like a knife to the heart. This is because aging is the great equalizer. Even someone who thinks they're superhuman will eventually get wrinkles and maybe even need reading glasses. Everyone's physical ability declines with age too, and it's really just human physiology. And while we can do things to attempt to delay the inevitable, not even a narcissist can pretend to be 20 when they're 50. So for a narcissist, aging becomes a physical representation of admitting defeat. They are no longer the most attractive, most physically fit, or maybe even mentally capable. And that's something a narcissist has trouble facing. So when you touch on that shame button, expect an unpleasant response. And here's a really insightful comment from one of you who I'm guessing has dealt with an aging narcissist firsthand. They can't get the supply they need as they age because they can't use good looks anymore. Also, it is a medically proven fact that they are more susceptible to dementia. And you might be surprised to learn that that bit about dementia has some truth behind it. At least according to a 2015 study that found that people who scored high for traits of narcissism on the Narcissistic Personality Inventory had a 43% higher risk of developing Alzheimer's disease than those with lower scores, after adjusting for other factors. And just a little clarification to connect the dots between the survey and the comment. Dementia is an umbrella term for symptoms that cause cognitive decline, and Alzheimer's is one disease that can cause those symptoms. Okay, so moving along on our tour of the Narcissist's Grudge Museum, we are entering the Hall of Lost Supply. And this is for those who left the narcissist and their abusive ways in the dust. These are the people the narcissist relied on to be lifelong doormats and punching bags. So when all else failed, the narcissist could count on being able to regulate their emotions through these people. These people are what sometimes you might hear referred to as premium supply. But for the narcissist, these people only exist here in this mental prison because everyone in the Hall of Lost Supply found their way out. You see, for a narcissist, losing a spouse or relative who provided this premium supply is a major blow to their delicate ego. And I want to be clear that not just anyone makes it to this Hall of Lost Supply, but I'm going to guess you know if you have. Is your picture going to be hanging there? Let us know in the comments. So the narcissist will cycle through people in the phases of narcissistic abuse, and they will love bomb, devalue, and discard. But just because someone has gone through these cycles of abuse and maybe gotten out doesn't mean that the narcissist can't get over that loss. So let's look at the type of supply that the narcissist has trouble getting over. So if a narcissist was confident and maybe even proud of the control they had over you, and then you take that away from them, that is going to hurt. That's going to leave a mark. If you related to what I said earlier and you felt like you were a doormat or a punching bag for the narcissist, and this dragged on for an extended period of time, if you felt like no matter what they did, you felt trauma bonded, and so you ended up going back to them, leaving the narcissist with the impression that they could do anything that they want and you'll still take them back. If you relate to any of these things and have gotten out, you may have your picture in the Hall of Lost Supply. But please understand that just because a narcissist can't get over the loss does not mean that they miss you. They miss the control that they had over you. They miss the power that they felt, that they could pull your emotional strings at any time and get you to believe them, regardless of how unbelievable the story is. And this can be a hard pill to swallow, but none of this actually has anything to do with you as a person. And it absolutely has nothing to do with love. Please remember, this is the Museum of Grudges. So if you left a narcissist, you created an injury, and they're going to need to settle the score. And so taking them back at this point becomes dangerous. At this point, when they have a score to settle, that's when things really escalate. And that's when you might find the most believable act you've ever seen. Don't fall for it. Because if you've left a narcissist first and created that narcissistic injury, and you make the mistake of letting them back into your life, you will regret it, as this next commenter and so many of the rest of us have. So this commenter says, I let him hoover back, not knowing it was only for revenge. I gave him money, thinking he was struggling. He said he understood why I put him out. But after he got all he wanted from me, he talked to me so bad and said he never cared about me. I'm so hurt. And like I said, it's relatable. I know a lot of you are going to relate to that if you've been through this. And if you do feel like sharing, please do let us know in the comments, because hearing stories like this can make people who are going through it now feel less alone. A narcissist absolutely will hoover you back and act all love bomby so that you let your guard down. And as soon as you let your guard down, that's when they go for revenge. It's kind of like a hawk with its prey. Beware of the person who raises you high only to drop you from greater heights. Do not fall for it. So moving along, naturally, disrespect also gets its own exhibit. When others don't bow down or kiss the narcissist's feet, it's not just surprising, it's unforgivable. So we've chatted quite a bit on this channel about how a narcissist expects so much more of you than they are willing to give. And so whenever they do even the smallest thing to reciprocate your efforts, they absolutely expect a parade in their honor. And if you don't show them the appreciation and respect they think they deserve, they will absolutely hold it against you. You become the person who is unappreciative and undeserving of their affection. And here's a pretty commonplace example. Let's say you live with a narcissist and you're the one who does all the chores to keep the house running. Cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids if you have kids. It's just how things are, and you get the feeling it's just how things have to be. Now, let's say one day the narcissist puts away his or her own dish without you asking first. According to them, you'd really better notice how much effort they've been putting forth lately. And if you don't, you might see some sort of punishment coming your way, whether it be a discard, a rage fest, or the silent treatment. And here's a comment from one of you who understands this all too well. He has broken up with me countless of birthdays and holidays because I had enough. And he said I didn't cooperate the way he deserves and or respect him. He would never say how when directly asked, because he doesn't have a clue and deep down knows that he doesn't deserve what his ego desires. And that begs the question, does he really know? Maybe deep down he does, but it's probably buried deeper than you might expect. Now let's continue as we enter a wing of the Grudge Museum dedicated to lost narratives. You probably know, many of you firsthand, how narcissists construct false narratives about themselves and others to control how they are perceived. But sometimes those stories spin out of the narcissist's control. Things like the smear campaign, attempts at revenge, and passive-aggressive manipulations have all been known to blow up in a narcissist's face. And when they do, you can bet your picture will be hanging in their Grudge Museum. For example, if a narcissist were to attempt an all-out smear campaign, you can imagine how excited they'd be at the thought that everyone was going to turn their backs on you. But then, the exact opposite happens. Let's look at a comment from one of you who has seen this firsthand. The smear campaign started about a month ago and backfired. I didn't have to defend myself or even try to smear her back. Mutual friends and family members have been reaching out to me since they were able to see through her lies. I thank God for showing me I'm not alone. And while the smear campaign doesn't always backfire, I found quite a few comments from those of you who got to watch the smear campaign go up in smoke. Here's another one. She attempted to gain support from everyone while attacking me. It backfired. Everyone cut her off. This made her cry over the fact that everyone has rejected her. She blames everyone and everything for her failures. Sounds about right, doesn't it? And sometimes it's just the narcissist's manipulation attempts that blow up in their faces. Here's a comment that I know many of you will find relatable. I grew up in a household that had a parent that attempted the silent treatment, but it backfired, as both me and my siblings would be happier when they did not speak to us. So that's some grudge-inducing stuff for a narcissist right there. Because essentially, you're showing the narcissist that they have no power over you. And we all know how vengeful a narcissist with a grudge can be. But now let's look at a comment from one of you who has seen the narcissist revenge attempt backfire. My ex-narc tried to report me for fraud with car insurance. Unfortunately, it backfired on her because it wasn't true. After 20 years of marriage, this is what they do. That's the kind of behavior you can expect when a narcissist realizes they've lost control. And if you want to know what else to expect, click on the video that just popped up on the screen. And of course, hit that like button before you go if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.